All right, ladies and gentlemen. So if we can avoid any more fun times with OBS, resetting settings and ruining my videos, that would be nice. So I recently made a leveling guide for Paladin after playtesting a bunch of stuff. I'll probably be uploading that video right before I upload this one. This video is going to be my thoughts on Season of Mastery in general. And I'm going to start this video off by covering a few things that I didn't cover or didn't cover well enough in the leveling guide. So the one thing I didn't really cover too well is how your, well, I talked about it a little bit, but I didn't cover some stuff. So how your intellect gear, I'm just going to assume that you've watched the previous video. That way I'm not spending 10 minutes explaining it. But the intellect gear is kind of I explained how the intellect gear is linked to your drinking of the water, if that makes sense. So you're going to sit down, you're going to drink water, and the water is going to recover however much it's going to recover of your mana bar. And the interesting thing about wearing the plus intellect gear, I talk about it in this video. So the interesting thing about wearing the plus intellect gear is that this is going to distract the shit out of me. Pause. So the interesting thing about wearing the plus intellect gear is, yeah, you can see it right here. Okay, this is a great example in the video. I might even be playing it just for this. So the Paladin sits down and starts drinking in this intellect gear. And he's not going to recover 100% of his mana from the 30 seconds of drinking. He'll recover something like 80% of his mana, 90% of his mana. It really depends on how up-to-date your intellect gear is and how out-of-date your water is, if that makes any sense. So yeah, so the drinking stopped, and you can see I've only recovered about 80% of my total mana bar in general. Now, I talked a bit in the video how this is kind of interesting because what it allows you to do as a paladin, in my mind, is one of two things. It allows you to either allow your intellect stamina gear to get substantially out of date. So, for example, you could be out of date in your stamina intellect. You could be like level 25 wearing like level 20 gear, like all stamina intellect gear, or even be like level 25 and wearing like level 18 stamina intellect gear, and be perfectly fine, because all you're really missing out on would be armor at that point, going up in a bit of stamina, and going up a bit in the intellect. It isn't really going to do you any good because the water is only going to regenerate so much over 30 seconds, and then you don't want to drink 2 waters just to regain the extra little bit of mana. So blah 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 blah, and then yeah. So you're kind of limited on how much intellect gear is viable on your paladin based upon how much mana you can recover in 30 seconds of drinking water. So that's the one thought. The one way of thinking about it is, okay, what's cool about the stamina intellect gear is that I don't really lose all that much from allowing my gear to be significantly out of date. Whereas if you were doing the strength stamina build or any other type of build, you'd always want the most up-to-date gear possible. The other way of looking at it, which I did talk about in the video, is that if your stamina intellect gear is up to date, you might only need like 70% of it being relatively up to date on your character, like equal to your level. And then the rest of the gear can be whatever you want it to be. It can be like, strength stamina or spirit stamina or whatever the heck you think you need, because your up-to-date intellect gear is too much. Like, as you can see here, if I'm only recovering like 80% of a mana bar after 30 seconds of drinking this water, I could stand to lose on this paladin probably 2 or 3 pieces of gear switched over to like strength stamina, for example. And be perfectly fine. It would actually be an efficiency increase. So in Diablo 2 terms, they talk about breakpoints in your gearing. So we really should talk about Paladin breakpoints in his gearing from this perspective, and that would be that if you're able to sit down and drink water for 30 seconds, and that 30 seconds is completely filling your mana bar, that would be your break point for your intellect gear. If that water is completely filling your mana bar at, like, 25 seconds of drinking, or at like 20 seconds of drinking, then you have not hit the break point of the stamina intellect gear, and you probably should get better or more stamina intellect gear. If you're sitting down and drinking 30 seconds of water and it's not fully, it's not fully replenishing your mana bar, then there's a really good chance that you could do without some of that stamina intellect gear because you've overshot the breakpoint. The breakpoint is going to be me sitting down, drinking, and this 30 seconds of drinking completely fills my mana bar. As your mana bar starts to get out of control, but that only starts to really happen at like level 40. You're gonna have to drink twice. But then your breakpoint becomes a different kind of breakpoint where it's like I'm drinking 2 things of water, and an entire minute of sitting down and drinking, is that filling up my mana bar? And if the answer is yes, that's my new breakpoint. And if the answer is still no to 2 things of water drinking, I've had this experience leveling an actual classic. I was like in Tarnassus, level 44 or something. I had all this stamina intellect gear, and I'm like, holy shit, I can drink 2 entire things of water, and I'm still at like, 90% mana. Like, what the hell? So I think eventually it gets out of control, but whatever. But I was thinking about this. By far the best gear to synergize with the stamina intellect style of play for Paladin is not strength stamina. It's actually defense gear. And then second tier priority would probably be just about as good, would be things that increase your armor. So let's see if I can actually get on a Wowhead. I'm reinstalling all my Steam games because Blizzard apparently, not Blizzard, but Classic Gear Planner. I don't think it's going to work, but oh, I guess it does work. Nice. All right, so I'm going to set this to level 30-ish. I'm going to go to legs, and I'm looking for the legs that you get as a quest reward. Here it is, dual reinforced leggings. You get this as a quest reward for killing the final boss in Gnomeregan. And if I look at it, this is a level 37 item. If I go down here, that's leather. Let's try to find some mail that's also level 37 to compare. Right, so you can see here that this thing has stats and it has 192 armor. But I go up here, it's also an item level 37. But if I go up here to this item level 37, it's got significantly more armor. It's got like an entire piece of gears, additional armor, and it's got defense gear. So in my brain, if you're doing the intellect Paladin, intellect stamina Paladin playstyle, the best things to mix into your gearing when you've hit your stamina intellect breakpoint, which is correlated with the water, is going to be items that have defense gear on them and items that just have more armor than usual. Like their selling feature is that they just get more armor. You can always tell this on the item because even though it doesn't show it here, the item is actually green. So the armor will be highlighted in green saying, yo, this has been buffed. Yeah, and I think you get by far the best synergy out of that for all the reasons that we talked about why strength gear kind of sucks in the previous leveling guide. Some other interesting things I didn't really get to talk about in the leveling guide, but I kind of did, but I kind of didn't, is your stamina. So, stamina on a Paladin is weird. I learned this in TBC as well, about stamina breakpoints with your healing. And to give you an example of what happened in TBC when I was testing, I would have like, we'll say like 13,000 hit points on my Paladin, but during PvP you could only heal. Your heals were very predictable. You get to do like one holy light here and a couple flash of lights here and then another holy light here. Like you couldn't just stop and do like a double holy light very often as a Paladin. And so what I always found was, even though I had 13,000 hit points, my healing was only as such that I could maintain effectively during a long combat 10,000 hit points. And so I discovered that there's a correlation between your max hit points and then how much you can, how much you're healing yourself. Able to heal yourself is what I'm saying. Now, this really doesn't come up in Classic World of Warcraft, but where it does come up is when you're leveling in Classic World of Warcraft. So for example, let's say that you have a shit ton of hit points while you're leveling in Classic World of Warcraft, but your Holy Light is out of date 6 ways from Sunday. So your Holy Light is healing you for 25% of your health bar. At that point, you have to ask yourself, what the hell is the point of having all this health if my healing is garbanzo? And if you stop and think about it, there is a purpose, right? It allows you to go walk into a group of mobs and tank them a lot easier and burn them down. But our ability to quote unquote tank a group of mobs, like let's say you're fighting 5 mobs at once, is more dictated by how deep our mana pockets are than how deep our hit point pockets are. So for example, I'll give you 2 examples. Let's say in one example I have 800 hit points and I walk into like a group of like 500 mobs versus I have 1600 hit points and I walk into a group of 5 mobs. Let's say I heal the exact same amount. I heal 400 hit points every Holy Light. So that's 25% of the 1600 hit points mana bar, and that is 50% of the 800 hit point mana bar. How do I put this? Well, the 800 hit point is going to have a very predictable experience. He's going to walk into a pack of 5 mobs, and he's going to consecrate, Holy Light, consecrate, Holy Light, Holy Light, consecrate, consecrate, Holy Light, right? Because he has this very shallow HP bar. He's going to be forced to Holy Light quite often to keep his HP up. But can he do it? And the answer is yeah, if he has this really deep mana bar. And as we talked about in the video, Intellect grants you like 110 or 120% bonus to your intellect when you're using to your mana bar when you're using intellect gear. So he's perfectly fine even though he has half the hit points. So what's the combat look like from the 1600 HP Paladin? Well, the 1600 HP Paladin doesn't have to heal as often theoretically, but that's only going to last for a little while until he drops below half life. And once that 1600 HP Paladin drops below half-life, he's going to have to heal himself just as often as the 800 HP Paladin, because the healing that you have to... how often you have to Holy Light yourself is dictated by how much damage you're taking. How soon you have to Holy Light yourself once the combat starts is dictated by your total mana bar. So what are the advantages of having more stamina at that point? And it's like, okay, well, I got to melee a bit longer, so I did a little bit more damage with my melee attacks. Cool. I got a little bit more spirit tick regeneration because I didn't have to heal all that quickly. But again, that's only going to last like maybe 10 seconds at most before you've chunked through half your HP bar, and now suddenly you're stuck doing consecration, Holy Light, Holy Light, consecration, same as the other Paladin. So there's not a lot of synergy there with having this massive stamina boost to your AoE tanking Paladin. The AoE tanking Paladin's capabilities are almost always dictated by the depths of their mana bar. You can also see this as you only gain 10 hit points for every point of stamina, whereas you gain 15 mana per point of intellect. And on top of that, the AoE Paladin tends to have a 10% bonus to intellect, so we might as well say he gains like 16.5. And then your healing, you can turn 1 point of mana into 2 points of healing. So at that point, it's closer to, let's see, that's 33. Yeah, so you can turn that into like 33 HP. So it's like 1 point of intellect is turnable into 33 hit points, but 1 point of stamina is only turnable into 10 hit points. And a little bit of DPS because you get to melee the target a little bit longer. So there's just not a lot of synergy there is what I'm trying to say. However, if you start looking at armor, right? Like, let's not go stamina, let's go armor. Let's not go armor, let's go defense, or like, the skill anticipation and so forth and so on. then you're getting I think there's a lot more synergy there with the whole playstyle than anywhere else. It also really doesn't hurt your single target capabilities all that much. So I just find it really fascinating that once you hit this intellect breakpoint, which is dictated by your water, the next best thing on your list is not strength, and it's not spirit, and it's not stamina. The next best thing on your list is to try to augment that super deep intellect bar with armor and then plus a defense gear. So I find that kind of fascinating. All right, what else is there to talk about? I think that's all I really have to cover on the subject of the Paladin leveling thing. You can go check it out yourself. It was really quite fascinating. If I go back over here and I switch back over to this, I'll just give you a brief synopsis. So I looked into all the different types of gear you could wear on a Paladin. I looked into strength, stamina. Where's the whole Discord thing we got going on here? This is literally the video I have to upload. Come on, go to Discord. This is me actually showing this stuff in Gear Planner. This is me proofing it in Gear Planner. OBS reset a bunch of crap and really screwed some stuff up. Really annoying. The long and short of it, however, is that for single target time to kill purposes, what we discovered is that using strength, stamina, and using a fast two-hander with Seal of Righteousness rank 3, because Seal of Righteousness rank 3 has a 20% spell power ratio behind it, and then using Judgment of the Crusader is actually kind of nuts. So as you can see here, when I was wearing stamina intellect gear and I was using a fast two-hander, we're talking, there's all these fast two-handers when you're leveling. It's like 2.5 weapon speed, like 2.6 weapon speed, like one-hand weapon speed, but you get two-handed weapon damage, and you get the 20% spell power ratio from Seal of Righteousness rank 3, and you get to use Judgment of the Crusader for spell power. It's really, really sexy. So I tested it all out. So I wore strength, stamina gear. I used a two-hander with Seal of Command. I did this multiple times, and I timed out roughly how long it takes to kill. I assumed downtime was about 30 seconds, but downtime might be a little shorter for this. So this might be a little better. I'm not entirely sure. But what was quite obvious was that even if you're wearing stamina intellect gear, but you're using the fast two-handed weapon, it was stamina. Yeah, you were very competitive in your kill times with Seal of Command Paladin. And then, of course, once your AoE capabilities come online, you're just objectively better than Seal of Command Paladin because, you know, you can AoE farm when you can AoE farm, and single target farm is just as fast as Seal of Command. You can tank in dungeons, you can heal in dungeons. You're just a better Paladin objectively than a Seal of Command Paladin. You're not better at single target, but you're not far off from being as good as single target as Seal of Command. But then anything besides single target, you do substantially better than a Seal of Command Paladin. And then I also tested just strength, stamina gear with a fast two-hander using SOR rather than Seal of Command, and it did the exact same amount of Seal of Command. So this was like, I had Seal of Command, but I was just using two-hander with SOR, and I still had similar kill times than Seal of Command, so I was just like, this is pretty funny. Then, of course, I looked into one-hander SOR kill times, which was obviously a little slower, but it wasn't far off from the two-handed kill times, which I thought was really kind of fascinating. But anyways, you can watch that whole video if you want to. All right, so the whole Season of Mastery thing. I hate it. I'm not going to lie to you. So I have a level... I can actually pull that up real fast here. Boop. I have a level... Let's see where he's at. Should be like some... Is it here? That's just me talking, right? Yeah. Me talking about this stuff here. Let's close that video. So these are some videos that I made that you're just never going to see. Because you can see how the graphics a little bit messed up. That's OBS changing the settings and shit on me, which was really fun. So I've been trying to make this video multiple times, and eventually I just... Where is it? There should be one where I'm palling around Silithus or something. No, that's my attempt at doing this video the first time, and then discovering that the visuals are all messed up. Yay. Silithus, where are you? Silithus? Come on, yeah, there we go. So I have a level 32 Paladin. This is actual Seasons of Mastery, but again, look, the visuals are all messed up. So I have a level 32 Paladin on the server. I've actually tested things. The weapon I'm using here is Thermoplug's right arm. Yeah, there we go. Come here. No, no, no. I want to show them that again. Oh, right. This doesn't do 5-second backups. It does, like, 5-minute backups. That's cute. Wait, we gotta go back a little bit more. Anyways, you can look it up. Thermoplug's right arm, two-hander that drops off of the final boss in Gnomeregan. Most people think it's a colossal piece of crud, but it's got like a 2.7 weapon speed, so it's got everything that you want in an SOR Paladin leveling weapon, and it's fast, and I get the two-handed damage, and it's up to date. So that's really good stuff. This is all stamina spirit gear. So I tested out stamina spirit gear on Paladins on Season of Mastery server. It's absolutely terrible. Don't put spirit gear on a Paladin ever. Run away. Watch the leveling guide. You'll see why. But this is just me. Anyways, so what do I think about the Season of Mastery? I think a 12-month life cycle for TBC, not TBC, for Classic World of Warcraft is only sustainable if they increase the drop rates on just about every item in the game, especially items in dungeons and in raids by like a factor of 4. And the reason for this is because if you actually math out how long it takes to get BIS gear rating on a single character in the raid, like a single class, a single spec, it's actually about 4.5, 5 months to get BIS gear. And the reason for this is because this is a Reckoning Paladin, by the way. I was just testing it out, but I can't. Yeah, whatever. The 4.5 months, right? Because the most of the on average, the things drop rates in raids are like 13%, and you need like 6 of them from like Blackwing Lair if we're thinking about like tier 2, for example. So then you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, how often are we going to see, how long is that going to take? And the answer is it'll take one character getting full tier 2 in your raid 4.5 months. Now, you could argue that it's going to take the next character half as long, and then the next character after that half as long, but that's kind of not really how, maybe that's how it works, but it still takes a metric shit ton of time. What I'm trying to say is drop rates in Classic World of Warcraft, even at like a 2-year life cycle, are relatively unreasonable. So if they're not increasing it by like a factor of 4, like if there's not 4 times as many items that drop in raids, then that's kind of not going to work at all. Other things that need to be sped up substantially if they're going to do a 12-month life cycle would be the honor system. Obviously, we all know that. If the honor system is scuffed, then all the PvPers really aren't going to want to play. Hell, there are some classes in Classic World of Warcraft that they just can't get good gear for their PvP gear at all for their class outside of ranking. Shadow Priest comes to mind, just because it really doesn't exist. The other thing that I have problems with Season of Mastery is that... what the hell am I thinking about here? Oh, right, I'm testing the other seals for spell power ratios right now to show... yeah, I think this Judgment of the Crusader at this point has 80 spell power behind it. So, yeah, you can see it's 12 base. Let's see, just smacking at 12 base. Okay, put some Crusader on there, my dude. 16 base? Are we testing the other seals? Okay. You gonna judge the... Alright, 16. Show me what you got. I'm thinking 20%, 80, so it should be adding 40. So I'm thinking... oh, no, this is not rank 3, I don't think. Yeah, 32. That seems low. I could be wrong, though. Nah, I don't know what I'm testing over here. Right, so back to Season of Mastery. So... what the hell was I thinking about? Pause this real fast so I'm not distracted. Um, Season of Mastery. Lost my train of thought. The other thing I don't like. All right, so drop rates, the PvP system. Oh, right. So picture this. They're increasing the difficulty of the raids. Imagine if they don't increase drop rates in dungeons. So Molten Core is already hard enough as it is if half your raid has if your raid only has like half pre-raid bisque gear. So if half your raid only has half of their pre-raid bisque gear, Molten Core is actually hard. Molten Core only gets easy when your raid really starts to get pre-raid bisque gear down pretty good. And if how long does it take you to get your pre-raid bisque gear? Like how many dungeon runs? Just calculate that for a second. You're gonna have to do upwards of like 25 Strat Undead runs. You're gonna have to do something like 25, 30, like LBRS, UBRS runs, wherever the hell we have to go. Dire Maul's not out initially, so I have no idea where the hell else we go. You're probably gonna have to do like Arena and Anger Forge runs, like 50, 60 of those. It's gonna take us about a month to just get pre-raid bis, and it's going to be infinitely more required because apparently they're buffing the bosses or something like that. Or at the very least, let's say it's not even required and everything's blown out of proportion and the bosses are really easy. It's not going to change the fact that the community is going to, just like they did in Classic World of Warcraft, think that it's required. They're going to be like, oh, these bosses might be easy now, but Blackwing Lair is going to be hard. Oh, Blackwing Lair is easy, but AQ might be hard. Oh, AQ is easy, but Nax is going to be hard, so you best get your gear together. Blah, 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 blah. So, I don't really like that. Other issues, so my point is, if they don't increase drop rates in dungeons, that's really going to hurt the game. It's also going to massively hurt the game for PvPers because PvPers have to run the dungeons like substantially more than like just your casual players. People who are parsers have to run the dungeons the most, I think. Like they're after like those super rare drops in dungeons where mathematically you have to run the dungeon like 120 times in order to get this drop. Yeah. So they don't increase the drop rates. I can see that really sucking. Other things I think are really going to suck about Season of Mastery is, number one, the burnout, and number two, the type of player that I think is going to be gravitating or attracted towards Season of Mastery in general. So, for example, Season of Mastery is going to effectively cater to those try-hard, egotistical type. What do we call them? Classic Andes, I think they're called. I don't know. Basically, gatekeepers. I forget what we call them. It's some derogatory term. But think of the worst elements and the worst experiences you had in Classic World of Warcraft with the tryharders and the parsers and everybody in the game who was taking the game way too seriously, right? In Classic WoW, when we played, the communities were a mix of people that were just casual and having fun, and then people who were these try-hard, egotistical psychopaths. And Season of Mastery is going to be pretty much chock full of try-hard, egotistical psychopaths. So if you enjoy that for whatever reason, then that's great. If you're not going to enjoy that type of environment for whatever reason, I would stay the hell away. For me, it's a mixed bag because on one hand, I hate raiding with try-hard dipshits. So it's like, for as a PvPer, I'm sitting there and I'm like, congratulations, you can hit you can hit the thing that is slightly more difficult to deal with than a target dummy better than other people. Congratulations. Like that's not really an achievement. That's why I don't gravitate towards, parsing and raids or anything like that. I'm more of a PvPer because I think figuring out how to be good and how to be a badass and how to be top of your game in PvP is infinitely more complicated of a puzzle to solve than how to do best DPS with my class in a raid. So I honest to God look down on parsers. And I don't look down on parsers who are just like, dude, I love parsing. It's what I like to do, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, dude, hats off. Go for it. But I look down on the parsers that look at me like there's something wrong with me that I'm not interested in parsing as a paladin. And I'm like, fight me. Like, no, no, no. I'm basically a PvP parser, right? I'm not a PvE parser. I think that is low tier stuff. But that's just me. But on the other hand, and I hate playing with those people because they're very intolerant and they tend to be very arrogant. And I always find it funny when actually they get the best gear in the game, and then these are the same people that I'll see in like duels and stuff like that, and they just get absolutely slaughtered by me and my shitty gear. So enjoy. They're also the people that tend to have like rank 14 weapons, and then I beat them in duels easily, and then they cry about it, and I'm just like, what the hell is wrong with you? But that brings us to the other thing. One thing that I really get off on, is, especially as a paladin player, is going up to people who have the best gear they can possibly have in the game, have these giant fucking egos. They tell me they never lose to paladins because 95% of the paladin player base sucks, and then I'll just beat their ass into the ground consistently, laughing my ass off. So I might really enjoy playing in Season of Mastery just to run around with mildly inferior gear and really shitty parses and just stomp the living crap out of these people who have these inflated egos of themselves. So I love fighting people who have inflated egos. Love it. Mostly because they have no idea what the hell's about to happen to them. So I don't know. I might enjoy Season of Mastery for that. That is the one upside. But I'm not going to be able to stand raiding with these guys, which is probably why I'm just going to start my own guild and populate it full of people who have a similar mentality to me, where it's like, as long as the bosses are dying and we're getting the gear, who gives a shit? I'm going to name the guild PvP Prio. And the looting system that we're going to have for the guild is going to be centered around prioritizing PvP over PvE. So in normal looting systems in raids, as you know, it's like they dish out the loot based upon what's going to better the overall raid's PvE performance, like killing bosses. Nah, my guild is going to dish out the loot based upon what is the best possible loot to give to Hugh for PvP performance, not for PvE performance. And I'll continue to do that, of course, until the bosses get so hard that something's telling me that we need to do something otherwise. But let's be honest, the bosses aren't that hard. Worst case scenario, they just require some coordination. And then worst case scenario, you just go into, I think it's Upper Blackrock Spire? Yeah, you go into Upper Blackrock Spire and you mind control those whatever, and you have them give you the 90% fire resistance buffs, and then you go use that to beat stuff in Blackwing Lair. AQ might be a little hard, but again, I think most of the stuff is just coordination, not so much your gearing, especially if your guild is populated by, like, rank 12, rank 13, and rank 14 monsters that are all really digging the fact that they get some serious prio in the guild because they have rank gear. So, what else is there to talk about? Burnout. Yeah, I think Season of Mastery, because it's structured like a race, is going to have some massive burnout. So classic World of Warcraft, even at like a 2-year life cycle, already suffers from burnout. It suffers from burnout because the game is a marathon, not a race. That's at 2 years, right? The game is a marathon, not a race. Just because of the sheer amount of hundreds of hours you have to sink into the game to get anywhere. Well, if they're making it a 12-month life cycle, now there's going to be a shit ton of pressure on everybody to treat it like it's a race and not a marathon. And I'm predicting people will burn out like a motherfucker within like the first 3 months of playing the game, especially because I'm fairly certain Blizzard's going to screw something up. Like, they're going to screw up the drop rates in dungeons, or they're going to screw up the drop rates in raids, or they're not going to fix the PvP system, or they're going to put in, like, buyable mounts and boosts and transfers or whatever the hell else in the game. They're going to screw up something along the line. And I'm predicting there's going to be something like a 60-70% player fall off within like the first 3 or 4 months, as people realize that they've fallen so far behind the race that they might as well go do something else and wait for a fresh 12-month server, and for Blizzard to fix this or that or this other thing problem. Hell, I might even be a victim of the burnout or the fed upness with Blizzard as things go on. As I learn, what are they doing with the ranking system? Are they stupid? The other thing that I find fascinating is that they're starting Season of Mastery with the rank system in place. Like, do you have any idea how bad that is? Especially with the player base that we're talking about here. When we're talking about the try-hard psychopaths, you do realize this. Both PvE and PvP try-hard psychopaths need rank gear. I am a try-hard psychopath PvPer. So I know that I need rank gear. I just don't happen to be one of those super arrogant, full of themselves, blah, blah, blah. Or maybe I am, but I can just back it up. Maybe that's what it is. Or I don't... No, I would say I don't look down or gatekeep or criticize people who aren't the way that I am. I guess you could say. I guess that's what is a little bit of difference. But, well, okay, so what am I trying to explain here? Explain to me how it's not going to be Phase 2 if you're having the ranking system. All right, so picture this shit, all right, in your head, for example, okay? Both PvE tryhards and PvP tryhards are going to start the game, and they're going to realize that with such a fast life cycle to the game, we need to get our rank gear immediately. And it might not even be our best option to go and get pre-raid BIS as opposed to getting rank 10 gear, for example. Now, for Paladin healing, we still have to go get our pre-raid BIS gear. But for any real DPS class, the rank 10 gear is probably superior for the purposes of DPS than their pre-raid BIS gear, or at very least it's very close to it. So there's going to be a hard push by the rankers to kill anything and everything that they can get their hands on while leveling. So as a serious PvPer, you're going to have to balance leveling as quickly as possible along with killing as many people in the open world as possible without it slowing you down. And the reason for this is because the rank system works on like raw honor numbers. So for example, at level 30, if I kill another level 30 player, I might get like 60 honor. But if I'm level 60 and I kill another level 60 player, I'll get 120 or 240 honor. I can't remember. It's been a while. And then the honor system is just based around the raw number. It's not converted for your level or anything like that, which is kind of a thank God thing. But basically what it means is that I'm incentivized as a serious ranker, PvP ranker, to both level as quickly as possible so that I can get the honor I get from killing people up as high as possible, and to murder as many people as possible while leveling. This is going to result in not quite as terrifying of a Phase 2 scenario, but it will result in something resembling something of a Phase 2 scenario, especially around the summoning stones at dungeons, right? So like Scarlet Monastery, outside of Scarlet Monastery is probably going to be an ocean of bones, and it's going to be dominated by Horde or Alliance at all times. And then getting into Scarlet Monastery or summoning anyone for Scarlet Monastery is going to be an absolute fucking nightmare, because it's just going to be an ocean of Horde players out there who, the moment they see an Alliance player that's worth honor, your ass is getting clapped because the honor system is in the game. Then a picture you didn't level quickly and you took your time leveling quickly, and now you're trying to get into Black Rock Mountain as a level 54 or whatever. And all the level 60 players are especially the Horde, because the Horde have longer queue times than the Alliance, are going to be camping Black Rock Mountain, and you're going to die 6 or 7 times trying to get into Black Rock fucking Mountain. And then, of course, trying to summon anybody to get into Black Rock Mountain is going to be an absolute nightmare, because there's going to be a bunch of Horde, like, waiting in Arathi Basin or AV queue timers just ganking people in these zones. So you're going to have a phase 2 nightmare scenarios is basically what I'm trying to say, especially if you're trying to be a casual in Season of Mastery. Some people disagree with me on this. They're like, Palatine, you're wrong. You're wrong because BGs will be out. And I'm like, look, homie, while everyone's leveling, there ain't going to be no BGs a-popping. Like that ain't going to be happening. Okay? And at the same time, if you know anything about the honor system, it's a waste of your time trying to gain honor in BGs at level 30 as opposed to increasing your level so that you can start murder, death, killing people at max level and getting the higher honor for it, because that's how the ranking system works. Again, it all goes back to if they rework the ranking system or not, right? So if they don't, this is going to be your world. It's going to be this nightmare scenario. So yeah, so BGs aren't going to help the situation while leveling at all, and then even at max level, unless they implement mercenary mode. Unless they implement mercenary mode for BGs, the Horde are going to have these nice long queue times, which is going to force them out into the open world to absolutely murder and do terrible, terrible things to the Alliance that are still trying to level. Meanwhile, the Alliance PvPers are not going to be anywhere to help them at all. We're not even going to be out in the open world like in Phase 2. It's going to be worse than Phase 2 is what I'm trying to say, because there's not even going to be like a group of PvP rankers, like, that descend on Black Rock Mountain for like half an hour and clear out the Horde, and so you can get into Black Rock Mountain for a while. Like, the word goes out that we've secured Black Rock Mountain so that you can get into it. No, we're going to be busy, because our battleground queues are going to be popping off like crazy. So we don't have a choice. We're just going to be living in battlegrounds the entire time. Which means that everybody else is going to be in the open world, defend for themselves, and God help you. So that's going to be fun. There was another thing that came to mind that really shocked me, that I thought was bad for Seasons of Mastery. Give me a sec here. Yeah, I can't remember. I'm sure it'll come to me in a second. What the hell was I talking about? I was talking about this, about the PvP system being scuffed, and I was like, oh, there's another thing. I better talk about that when I'm done with this, but no, I can't remember. Let me pause the video for a second, see if I can remember it. Okay, so no, I can't really remember it, but in conclusion, I would say that Classic WoW Season of Mastery is going to have a metric shit ton of teething issues. Another one that comes to mind is reputation gains. Like, imagine doing the Cenarian Circle rep grind or the Timbermaw rep grind without any kind of boosts with your, speed cycle. Again, burnout's going to be real, boys. Burnout is going to be real. Unless they just look at everything and they're like, okay, we're just going to increase the drop rate and the rep gains by like a factor of 4. Burnout's going to be real. If you're a psychopath, go ahead and level on a PvP server. Okay, let me be more specific here. If you're the kind of player that is going to have 12, 16 hours a day to dedicate to doing nothing but playing World of Warcraft and doing nothing but leveling, and you're a serious PvPer, then it is fine for you to level on a PvP server on these fresh Classic WoW Season of Mastery servers. If you are any kind of casual, however, if you only have something like 8 hours a day to level your character in Classic World of Warcraft, or 6 or 4 hours a day to level your character in Classic World of Warcraft, you need to go level on a non-PvP server I cannot describe the levels that you need to, like, do it. Otherwise, there's no point in you playing Seasons of Mastery whatsoever. Because what's going to happen is, even as a Paladin, right, what's going to happen to me, even on the PvP servers, having like 16 hours a day to play, is I'm going to be hard pressed to level to 60 as quickly as possible on my Paladin, just to avoid this phase 2 nightmare scenario that's going to inevitably descend upon us all. Because what's going to happen is certain classes like mages and hunters are going to level to 60 way before the rest of us. And then because they have no PvP queues whatsoever, they're just going to be out in the world terrorizing us 6 ways from Sunday, right? We're going to be corpse camped, and it's going to be phase 2 scenario, except very class predictable. It's going to be like mages and hunters and some druids all over the place, just murder, death, killing everybody. Probably some warlocks in there, since they can AoE farm the dungeons super quick. Yeah, so and that's even gonna be, my life as a Paladin is gonna probably be something like, I'm level 50, and I'm dealing with all these level 60 mages and hunters trying to get into, like, while I'm trying to get can you imagine trying to quest under those circumstances? Fuck that. So me trying to get into like Blackrock depths so I can, just level to 60 for the love of God. And yeah, it's just going to be my nightmare scenario, even with 16 hours a day to play as a Paladin. So if you don't have 16 hours to level a day as on your class, it's going to be a PvP nightmare scenario for you if you're on a PvP server. Assuming that they don't change it. What I would honestly change is, like, the first 2 weeks of Season of Mastery, there is no ranking system. So at least everyone can kind of get to level 60 or around about level 60 before effectively Phase 2 pops into the game. Or at the very least, there'll be a bunch of level 60s by the time Phase 2 effectively comes into the game. What I'm saying is the honor system comes out and BGs are available. So at least the Horde have queue timers they can go into. But let's face it, they're not going to have queue timers. They are going to have queue timers is what I'm saying. So they're going to be out in the open world murdering people. So yeah, if you need to level slowly, do it on a non-PvP server. Otherwise, you're going to get phase 2'd. Like straight up. It's going to make phase 2 look like, I predict it's going to be worse than phase 2, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah. Yeah, because at least in Phase 2 Classic World of Warcraft, we were pretty much all 60. So it'd be like only the slowest levelers that ever leveled were still like level 48, 50 when Phase 2 dropped. Most of us were level 60 when Phase 2 dropped. We still needed, our pre-raid bis and all that kind of stuff, so life was still interesting. But at least we were all 60. What's going to happen in Season of Mastery is there's going to be people who are level 50, and then level 48, and then level 40, and then all the mages are going to be 60, and a bunch of hunters are going to be 60, and they're rankers, and there's nowhere for them to go. There's not queues popping, so they're just going to tyrannize everything and everyone and its dog. Good luck getting into the instances. Good luck summoning anyone at those summoning stones. Good effing luck. Yep, gonna be an interesting. Well, for me as a PvPer, I love Phase 2, so let's fucking go is what I'm saying. But most people are gonna hate it. Yeah, so there's gonna be a bunch of teething problems, I predict. Should be interesting, if nothing else, than a shit show. Oh, that was the thing I wanted to bring up. Okay, I remember now. Thank God, I was sitting over here trying to buy some time. All right, so the number one thing that pisses me off with Blizzard, that really doesn't make me want to play Season of Mastery. I'm thinking I'll probably play Season of Mastery for like 2 or 3 months and then just see how bad Blizzard fucks it up. And I'm going to see how quickly or adaptive they are at fixing their fuck-ups. And I'll see whether or not I'm inspired with confidence in their ability to sort out these teething problems in real time, or if I'm like, holy shit, you guys are dumb as hell, I'm out of here, Jesus. Which is usually what happens with Blizzard, right? So the number one thing that pisses me off the most about Classic WoW Seasons of Mastery is this, is that scientifically speaking, they don't have a control. And I think their egos are as such that they're not going to have a control. What do I mean by a control? Well, let's say they had classic WoW Season of Mastery servers, but then they had literally 3 servers, no more than 3 servers. But those 3 servers are classic World of Warcraft with no changes, and it's on a 2-year life cycle. Okay, literally a classic fresh with no changes. Okay, then they have one that's like RP PvP. They have another one that's PvP, and then they have a PvE. So they have literally just 3 servers that are basically their control, and that control allows them to see for themselves whether or not what they're doing with the changes and the Season of Mastery and speeding things up is liked more or less than the original classic World of Warcraft experience. And that way they can't really lie to themselves. But I think their egos are as such that they're not going to have the control. Well, for one, it'll make different player groups happy that otherwise wouldn't be happy. So they should just do it anyways. 2, it'll make them more money, so they should just do it anyways. Like have actual fresh servers on a 2-year life cycle that are nothing sped up, nothing's changed, nothing's like, made harder or anything like that. But they're not going to do it because of their damn egos. And what do I mean by this? Well, if Classic WoW Season of Mastery comes out and nobody likes it, they can lie to themselves about why nobody likes it. They're going to be like, oh, Classic WoW is just a boring game and blah, 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 and yada, yada, yada. Or they'll say things like, well, we need to make the bosses harder and we need to make things more inclusive. And, we should put in like mounts and boosts and stuff like that because people just don't have time. Season of Mastery is not alt-friendly, guys. Did you know this? So we should put in boost for people's alts. You get the whole picture, right? They get to do that whole lying spiel. Whereas if they actually had the control, they would see for themselves whether or not what they're doing is liked or disliked, whether it's good game design or bad game design for an MMORPG. But I don't think they're going to do that. And I find that fascinating and not in a good way. Meaning like it's like fascinating, but at the same time I can mark it as like this is both fascinating, but it's wrong. Like you're running off a cliff here. So that's what I find really interesting. So I think when Seasons of Mastery comes out and I don't see them have a control, alarm bells are going to go off in my head. I'm probably going to play Season of Mastery for 2 or 3 months. I'm going to see how many teething issues that it has. I'm going to see whether or not they inspire confidence. Like, inspiring confidence in me would be like, how quickly are they able to identify that there's a teething issue here? Or how utterly fucking stupid are they that they weren't able to anticipate that this or that or this thing would be a fucking problem? And then when the player base is identifying that it's a problem and going, hey, Blizzard, this is a fucking problem, how quickly do they address said problem? How intelligently did they address said problem? Did they do it full retard style, or were they actually doing something like, smart? Like, for example, with the honor system. Just about anybody who I've ever run this statement past, who's a fellow PvPer agrees with it, hell, they'll even come up with it on their own. We all think that the honor system should be completely done away with. Okay, so there's 2 possibilities with the honor system. Number 1, you cut the decay in half. I think it's 20% decay currently. You cut it down to 10% decay. That I would actually, it would more than double people's ranking speed, believe it or not. It would probably, you'd probably rank in 1/3 the time is what I'm trying to say. And you could actually like take a week off not ranking and not suffer too much in the way of decay. So you could cut the decay in half is option number 1. Option number 2, which is a vastly superior option in my personal opinion, is, and to anybody I've ever talked to, is you just roughly calculate how much honor people would have to acquire in order to get like, rank X gear or rank Y gear. And then you just make said piece of gear cost that much honor. One sec, let me pause the video. My wife is doing things. Well, my wife is digging through boxes right next to me, so I'm like, how long are you going to be making noise over there? And she's like, 10 minutes. And I'm like, well, I guess we're going to go record a video then. Continue recording. The hell was I talking about? All right, so the other alternative for the honor system, I've said this before, I'll say it again, is just figure out how much literally, because I know how much honor it should take. Like literally make, how do I, was it 1.8? Yeah. So when I was ranking on Faralina, the rank 1 parsers were making something like 1.8 million honor a week, which is actually kind of nuts. And then if they got rank 1 every single week, it would still take them like, 3 months or some shit to get rank 14 gear. Which very quickly you can start realizing that we can actually price in how much honor it should cost per piece of gear, and then what piece of gear should cost more than the others. So, for example, you could make it so that the first 3 pieces of honor gear, so that'd be your rank 12 gear, cost 1,000,000 honor a piece, and then your rank 13 gear, those 3 pieces cost 2,000,000 honor a piece. And then the weapons cost an obscene, like, 8,000,000 honor a piece or some shit like that. So rather than having a rank system, you just buy the gear with just straight up honor. There's no decay whatsoever. You can rank as hard or as casually as you would like, and it's still going to take you a metric shit ton of time to actually get rank 14, rank 12, rank 13 equivalent gear. So to give you an idea of that, if it cost you, let's say, 3 million honor points to get the 3 pieces of rank 12 gear, your average semi-hardcore ranker, because I was rank when I was ranking, I was probably ranking maybe like 11, 12 hours a day, and I was getting close to 1,000,000 honor a week. So that would still take me 3 weeks of doing nothing but PvPing my ass off just to be able to get 3 pieces of rank 12 gear, which is fair. And then if I wanted to go from there to get the other 3 pieces of the rank 13 gear, that would take me another 6 weeks of ranking in the honor system to get that much honor. Maybe I quit before the BG system came out, though, so I don't know. Maybe you got a lot more honor when you were doing a Wrathy Basin. I was still honor grinding, like, phase 2, and then Alterac Valley, and that's kind of when I quit. So maybe my numbers are off, but you get the point, right? Just figure out how much the rank 1 parsers are doing, tone it down a bit, so that rather than ranking or PvPing 16 hours a day, people can PvP like 12 hours a day, and then still calculate so that it's going to take them weeks to get their weeks or months to get their actual rank gear. But then we have Seasons of Mastery, which means you probably should tone it down even more. Yeah, I think it should be reasonable for people to get rank 13 gear within like the first 3 months of playing the game if we're going to have this on like a 12-month cycle. Me and Drakova are kind of in agreement that as PvPers, we don't really mind if it's really easy to get PvP gear or PvE gear. We just think that would make things funner, but it's kind of interesting. So anyways, I'm predicting a shit show for the Season of Mastery. I'm predicting that Blizzard is going to suck, and I'm predicting that egotism is going to be a thing. As far as my personal experiences on the beta, if nobody's told you yet, like I saw videos on leveling in the beta where people are like, leveling Classic WoW is awesome, leveling Classic WoW is amazing, this fixes everything, like these really obscene, absurd titles. And I'm leveling on beta. I've been leveling on beta, and I'm like, the quest XP bonus could be 100%. It's currently 40%, but it could be literally 100%, and it would not change the fact that the best way for you to level is to do dungeons. And the reason for this, and I talk about this a little bit, and I don't know, maybe I'm not uploading that video, so maybe I should say it here, is there's just not enough quests. Like, at the end of the day, there's just not enough quests. So, for example, on this Paladin, as we're seeing here, the video is messed up, so you can't see his experience bar. I came out here at level 32, and I did all the quests in Shimmering Flats. Like, every last one of them. And just to see with the 40% XP boost, just to see what would happen. And the answer is I ended up with like 70% of an experience bar by doing like all 8 or 9 quests in the Shimmering Flats and turning them all in. And I was like, Jesus Christ, this thing could even be like 100% XP bar from questing, and it wouldn't even matter because I've already done all the levels or all the quests in Stranglethorn Vale practically. They got me like a level and a half. But the vast majority of that experience is coming from killing mobs. Like, let's be realistic here. The vast majority of that XP is just coming from killing mobs. So it's like, what I'm trying to explain is I have literally nowhere to go to pick up any more quests on my level 32 Paladin. So, or level 33, I guess he's at this point. Like nowhere to go. It's like, all right, I've done almost all the quests applicable in South Shore. I've done them all in Stranglethorn Vale. I've done the Shimmering Flats. Where the fuck do I go to do quests as a paladin? The answer is you got to go to Scarlet Monastery, my dude. So, and of course, there's no one to go to Scarlet Monastery with. So I'm just like, this is fucking dumb. So the point is, they could increase the experience boosts of questing by like 100%. It's not going to change the fact that dungeon grinding is literally the way to go. I think there's a little bit more quests later on, but I don't think so. My memory tells me otherwise. My memory is like Brohim. I remember being out in like Tanasis or the damn desert, right? Level 40 in the desert. We all been there, and there's just no quest to do. It's run Zul'Farrak or nothing, and then eventually Zul'Farrak, you kind of XP out on Zul'Farrak, and then you're like level 48. You're not high enough level to go and do Unguro Crater yet, or really anywhere else in the world. You can kind of go to Burning Steps, but not really. And if the PvP system is active, you're really gonna not want to go to Burning Steps. So you get the whole point. It's just I don't think they know what they're doing. I'm not gonna lie to you. I straight up don't think they know what they're doing. So, but we'll see. And I'll just leave it there. And day is full. Yeah. We shall see, Blizzard. But so far, I am not impressed.